Tuned in. We've got a very special guest with us on Morning Live this morning, Vinton Cerf. I think he is one of the men in the world that carries the title as one of the fathers of the internet, and he's also the vice president of Google. He's in South Africa, and he's come to visit us here this morning. Again, it's so lovely to have you, and thank you for these interesting insights into the future. Will you see this? I mean, what you're talking about, I mean, the stuff you were telling us, is it here? Is it going to be happening soon? Or is this something for your grandchildren?
No, this is all here now, or it's on its way. But look, you understand that engineering is turning science fiction into reality. That's what engineers do. That's what I get to do and my colleagues at Google. So you can't imagine how much fun that is. You read a science fiction story, and then you figure out how to actually do it. So here's an example of something that has been going on since Google was founded in 1998. We had our 15th birthday yesterday on the 4th of September.
Right.
And it turns out that at that same year, a project was started called the Interplanetary Internet that my colleagues and I at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, one of the NASA facilities, started. We now have an interplanetary internet in operation between the Earth and Mars, the rovers that are on the surface, the orbiters that are in orbit around Mars, on the International Space Station, and in a satellite that's in orbit around the Sun. So we have the beginnings of an interplanetary backbone, which we'll use to support manned and robotic space exploration in the remainder of the 21st century. Wow. So this is not science fiction.
This is reality.
This is reality.
This is amazing. When you go and seeing movies these days, movies are now, they're depicting real life when it used to be a science fiction movie. Let's talk about Africa, and let's talk about some of the challenges, because this is all incredible, and it is incredible, and it revolutionizes worlds, and it revolutionizes the way we live. And yet there's so many challenges when we look at a continent like Africa when it comes to technology. And yet, if we have what you're talking about, we could better the lives of so many people. From your perspective, how is Africa doing?
Well, Google just held something called a Big Tent right here in Johannesburg, and that was the topic of conversation. What's going on in Africa today? How can we improve the ability of African businesses to use the internet? How can we improve the citizens of Africa, South Africa in particular, to get access to the network? Many of them have access with their mobiles, but that requires a smartphone. Yeah. Costs have to come down for that to be more accessible to people. We don't have as much infrastructure in South Africa for internet support as we would like to see. Optical fiber should be more prevalent. We need to have higher bandwidths on wireless. We have to have an infrastructure that will support new businesses using the internet to advertise their products and services or to provide products and services through the network. All of this is possible, but it requires focused attention on eradicating some of the barriers that prevent some of these things from happening.
Yeah. Let's talk about another issue. I'm trying to get as much of you as I can in this short time. As you are called the father of the internet, it must upset you sometimes to see your child being exploited so much. You know, on the internet, there is so much out there in terms of exploitation, in terms of, in terms of things that shouldn't be there, that are there. How do we get stricter measures in place? What is the future when it comes to that? So
exploitation has both positive and negative values. Commercial exploitation is not a bad thing necessarily. It helps to create new products and services, businesses, grows GDP, and so on. On the other hand, there is bad exploitation. Harmful things happen on the net, just like they do in the real world. People commit fraud. They bully people. There are a whole series of they do identity theft. There's propagation of viruses, worms, and Trojan horses, and other kinds of malware. All these things happen on the net. So the question is what to do. Some things can be defended against with software, and so there's a lot of work going on at Google and elsewhere to build barriers to some of those abuses. In some cases, it's very hard to prevent that from happening with software. So now we need to have agreements, both domestically and internationally, about what to do about some of the things that are harmful. This is especially a problem if some person in country A harms somebody in country B, and now how do we cope with that? Sometimes it requires some reciprocal interactions. Third thing is that young people are potentially faced with either content or behavior on the net that could be harmful. And the question is what to do about that. You can't absolutely filter everything out in this environment. We get 100 hours of video per minute coming into YouTube, for example. We can't look at it ahead of time. But we can respond when somebody says, that's not right, it violates your policies. We take it down when we discover that. The other thing, though, we can use, this is a teaching moment for young children, to help them understand how to think critically about what they're seeing and hearing. Because they're going to get information that's wrong from newspapers, radios, television, the internet, their parents and their friends. We need to teach them how to think about this and to reject bad information and accept good information. You can't give them a better tool than that to survive in the 21st century.
Yeah, that's amazing. Have you ever Googled yourself?
Yes. And I actually have, honestly, I have a Google alert under my name just to see what people are saying in case there's something I need to respond to.
I've also got one. But it's good.
Yes, well, that's what it helps you know what's out there.
Well, I Googled you, and I thought that all I needed to do was put in VI and you'd jump up. But it didn't work that way.
No,
it's nice and humble of you. Thank you for not letting Google do that to us. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for having me here.
Thank you for being with us, and have a safe trip here in South Africa. I know that you're here so quick, so it's been a pleasure having you and chatting to you.
I look forward to returning.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Vinton Cerf, he is the Vice President of Google, and of course also one of the fathers of the Internet.